Today we are going to learn how to use Google My Maps. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we are signed in to our Google account. So to do that, you can either be on the google.com homepage, you can be in your email, you can be in your Google Drive, you can be in multiple different locations. You need to look up here in the top right corner for our Google Apps widget. So you can see this up here in the top right corner, these 9 squares. This is our Google Apps. So I can click on that to get to my Google Drive, and here you can see your Google Drive and a couple other apps. So we're going to have to go to our Google Drive to get to our Google My Maps. You can also just click up here at the top and start typing the word drive.google.com, and it will appear, and that's another way you can get to your Google Drive. So we're going to go ahead and open up our Google Drive, and I've already got a specific folder open for this activity today. So you're going to go ahead and come here to your Google Drive. That's the first place we need to go to get started. Now, in order to create a Google My Maps, I do want to reiterate that you do need a Google account. So you can see I'm in a Google account, I've signed in, and now I'm in my Google Drive. So in the top left corner, I'm going to click on the blue New button, and I'm going to go down. You can see I've got Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. We're going to go down to More and go over. We've got Google Forms, Drawings, and here is Google My Maps just stuck right there in the middle. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to open up a brand new My Map. So as soon as it opens, the first thing that we need to do is just go ahead and give it a title. So we're going to click Untitled Map and give it a title. I am going to do a world tour for this example, so you can give it any title that you would like to make your map of. So then you're going to give it a description. This is a world tour. So any description that you want, there might be links or further instructions in this description for your students if it's an assignment, or it just might be something general. And then you click Save, and you can see all changes are saved in the drive. It has our title with our description here in the top left corner. If I go back to my drive, you can see, if we give it a second, it'll change the title of this to match. And there it says Google My Maps is my folder, and the title is World Tour. Now we are going to go ahead and start working on our map. So back to my map, here I am, and let's go ahead and take a look at the left side of our screen. We have the ability to add layers. We can click on Share and change our share options and settings. We have the ability to preview our map so that we can see what our students or our audience will see. So we're going to go ahead and just add another layer. So I've got 2 layers here. We're going to start with this very first layer. We can click on Untitled Layer to give it a title. And when I click on Untitled Layer, you can see it says Edit Layer Name. And so I'm going to go ahead and name mine. I'm going to do the 7 Wonders of the World and click Save. Now there are multiple ways for you to add points to your map. So you can see I already have the ability to import places. So by clicking on that, you can see that I can add places to this layer by dragging or uploading one of these file types. I can also find it from within my Google Drive. That is one way. Now we are going to search for our first location because I don't know exactly where the Roman Colosseum is. So if I was to click on this add marker and just click somewhere, I don't know exactly where that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the search feature and type in here Roman Colosseum, and I'm going to search for it. And now when I do that, you can see that it is taking me to the Roman Colosseum. Notice that the automatic color right here is green. So I need to click the plus button that says Add to Map. So now it is automatically blue. So it's changing it, so now I know that this is on my map. Also notice that it appeared over here underneath this layer called 7 Wonders of the World. Now if I'm using this with students, there's usually going to be this section that says Details from Google Maps if you use the search feature. I may not want the students to have access to this number and to all this other information, so I'm going to click Remove because I want it to be specific to what I want the student or the learner to see. And now in the bottom right corner, you're going to see these are your options. We can change the style, we can edit, we can add images or videos, we can add directions, or we can delete it. We're going to start by editing our title. So I don't want it just to be called the Colosseum. I want it to be called the Roman Colosseum. This box below it is the description that this marker will have. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a description, and I also want to give the students a link to more information about the Roman Colosseum. So I'm going to grab a link and I'm going to copy and paste it in here. So I have my link. I'm going to copy and paste, and then I'm going to push save. So now you can see that I have a marker for the Roman Colosseum. I have a title, I have a description, and a link for more information. I'm going to go back over here now and add images and videos. So I'm going to click on the image icon, the camera, and you can see that I have all these multiple ways to add my multimedia. So you can pull from your photos, from your Google Drive. You can also do a Google search here. So again, I'm looking for the Roman Colosseum, and I can pick any picture that I want. So I'm going to pick maybe this first picture, and you give it a second and you will see it appear. So I've got one of one pictures selected. Now if I want to add more pictures and videos, I can click this plus button, and it takes me back to my Google image search where I was before. So I can select another picture, push the blue select button, and you can see now it says I have 2 of 2. I can click that plus button again and come over here to the YouTube search, or if I already had a YouTube URL, a video that I've already looked at, I can use this YouTube URL button, or I can go ahead and search for something. So I'm going to go ahead and search for something about the Roman Colosseum. And then for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the first one and push select. So now you can see that I have 3 of 3 things available. So this is my video, and I have 2 images. If I don't want this image, I can push the trash can, and then I'm going to push save. Do notice one thing, that the description is the same for everything. All images and videos, this description stays the same. The description is not specific to that multimedia, to that picture or that video. It is consistent, and it's for the entire marker. So we've looked at editing, we've looked at adding images and videos. So let's go ahead and change the style of our marker. So when I click on this paint can, you can see that I can change the color of my marker to any one of these colors. I can also change the icon if I don't want this circle. Maybe for the 7 wonders of the world, I might want this star. You can click on more icons and you can sort by shapes or places or transportation. You can also click on custom icon, and it takes you here where you can do a Google image search. If I wanted to, I could find a picture of the Roman Colosseum, and I can actually use one of these pictures as my icon. So you have to give it a second when you do select an image. I can select it right here under custom icons and click OK. So now my icon is appearing over here on my map as the actual picture of that particular place. It will also appear over here under 7 Wonders of the World, under that layer. So that is adding a marker by using the search feature. The other option, as I said before, was to actually click Add Marker, and you would need to know the exact location that you're looking for. So I would click, and I could give it a name, give it a description, and all the other information that we have looked at with the Roman Colosseum. Taking a look at our map, you can see that we have the 7 wonders of the world labeled on our map. So let's take a closer look at this layer. Over on the left side of the screen, you see it says 7 wonders of the world. That's the name of our layer. You should see 3 dots to the right of any layer, and those are your options. By clicking on that, you will see Rename this layer, Delete this layer, and Open Data Table. Now let's take a look just below the title where it says Individual Styles. By default, you're going to have Individual Styles selected. This is how we customize the appearance of the layer on our map. So by clicking on that, you can see that it says I'm already grouping my places by individual styles. So we're going to come to that in just a second. Let's take a look first here at the labels. I currently have no labels selected. By clicking on no labels, you can see that I can choose to label my markers in this layer by name. By clicking on that, you see that the names have appeared on my map. I can also set these labels with a description. So I'm going to go back and say no labels. And I'm going to take a look now at how to group my places. I can group my places by uniform style, the sequence of color and letters, or individual style. So let's go ahead and take a look at sequence of color and letters. By clicking on that, you can see that it automatically labeled them A, B, C, D, and it also gave them different colors. This is a really great tool to use if you want the students or the audience to go through a stepwise process through this particular layer. Now let's take a look at uniform style. So watch what happens when I click on uniform style. Right now you see all of my markers over here under my layer. But when I click on uniform style, it automatically lumps them down into one. So I'm going to click outside, and it now says all items, and I have 7 items. Notice that it automatically gives it this red star. So I'm going to click on this paint can so that I can customize that. So I can customize it to say everything is going to be blue, and I want it to have the shape of a circle, or I want it to have the shape of a star. I can come down here and click on more icons, and just like before, I can sort through these different types of icons, or come down here and click on custom icon and pick a picture that I would like to use. So for this instance, I'm going to just go ahead and leave them as stars, and I'm going to make them blue. Now we are going to take a look at adding navigational directions to our map. So I already have this layer called Points of Interest in the USA. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here to Walt Disney World that I have labeled as a point of interest. So I'm going to look for another place of interest that I would like to add, and I would like to add the Kennedy Space Center. So I'm going to search for it. Now this time, unlike the Roman Colosseum, let's zoom in and take a look at what happened. So in this case, it is telling us there are multiple locations that fit that search criteria. So this first one is a Super 8, probably not what we want. The second one, this is the Hampton Inn, we don't want that one. This one is the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, we may or may not want that one. And this one says the Kennedy Space Center, so this is the one that I was looking for, so I'm going to click Add to Map. So this is the one that I want to have added to my map. And I'm going to, like I said before, remove these details from Google Maps. And just like before, I can come in here and edit, I can add images and videos, and I can change the style. Now to get rid of all these other green ones, we're going to come over here to the left-hand side of our screen, and we're going to click this X, and these are our search criteria. We're going to get rid of that so that those green markers disappear off of our screen. So now you can see that I have this new point of interest, the Kennedy Space Center. And I'm looking at getting directions from over here, our Walt Disney World, to our Kennedy Space Center. So there's more than one way that we can do this. Now notice that when you click on your marker, you do have the ability here that says directions to here. So I could click on this, and when I do, notice that it automatically opens a brand new layer called Untitled Layer, and it has put as destination B the Kennedy Space Center. So that was one option, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now my second option is to come up here underneath our search bar, and here we have Add Directions. We can click on Add Directions, and when I do that, again, notice how it opens Untitled Layer. This time point A and point B are not filled in for me. If I already have the points on my map, I can click on, if my cursor is in destination A, I can come over here to my map and click on that point, and it will automatically fill it in. And for point B, I can click here on my Kennedy Space Center. Notice that it's going to zoom in for you. It's going to give you your directions, and these are driving directions. If you want to change the type of directions, click on driving and change that to change your transportation mode to biking or to walking. So we're going to leave it as driving. And let's say we wanted to add another destination. I can click Add Destination, and I can pick something from my map that is already labeled, or I can search. So let's say we want to go down to Key West. So I can start typing and select from the choices given to me, and you can see now I have 3 points of interest labeled on my map, and I'm driving from Walt Disney World to Kennedy Space Center down to Key West. So these are our driving directions. Now one thing I want to make sure that you know is that this does automatically create a separate layer. So notice how this is separate from my points of interest layer. Even though Walt Disney World and Kennedy Space Center are located here as part of my points of interest layer, any sets of directions are going to be given as a separate layer so that I can turn them on and off. If you do want to change the title of this layer, you will need to do it at the end. So I'm going to show you what's going to happen. Name this as Directions. Notice if I click Add Destination, I want to go up to Jacksonville, Florida. Notice that by doing that, it changed the title of my layer again. So the last step that you do The very last step that you do when adding directions is name the title. So you do not want to give a title to your layer until you are done adding directions and adding your points that are on those directions, because it will change the title of that layer every single time. So that's just going to help you save some time. Now notice what I can do is I can unselect this particular layer that says directions, unclick that. I can see just my 2 points of interest. So again, it is 2 separate layers. Even if you are visiting those particular points on your map that are already labeled, they are separated from each other. Now that we have looked very closely at the layer, the 7 wonders of the world, and we've looked at adding layers, and we've looked at how to add markers, and we've looked at how to add directions, we're going to take a little bit closer look at this one missing piece here called draw a line. So I'm going to take off my 7 wonders of the world, and I'm going to come up here and click on continents. Now notice when I click on that, I've already put markers down for the continents, but to a student or to the audience, it might be very difficult for them to understand the difference between North America and South America. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this line feature, and we're going to click on that, and notice it says add line or shape. So when I click on it, my cursor has changed and it looks like a plus sign, which means I can draw here on our map. So I'm just going to go ahead and click once, and notice how I've got a white circle and this black line that goes around, so that I can go ahead and draw a line. So I'm going to click. Every time I click, it's going to draw these lines out, and I'm just going to do this very quickly. Now notice when I get to the end, I want you to watch very closely what happens to my line. As I get closer and closer to the very first circle that I started with, the very first point, as soon as I get close, it automatically takes it and wants me to click on that very first dot. So when I click on that, it automatically creates this shape. So I just created a line, but by connecting it to the first dot that I started with, it creates a shape. So now I can more accurately say that this is North America instead of just leaving a dot or a marker on our screen, and I can give it a description as I usually do. So I can click Save. With our shapes, we can give it a certain style, which is going to be a color. It's also going to be a type of transparency, how see-through or not I want it to be, and how thick I would like for the border to be. So notice we don't really have the ability to change the style such as the icon, but we can change the border width as well as the transparency and the color. So now that I've done this, I'm going to click outside of that, and notice I can come back here and I can edit. I can add a description just like I can with my markers. I can also add my multimedia with images, and I can add videos just like you can with your markers. Very, very similar. Now notice if I want to, I can come back in here to my shape. I can click on it and my points appear. So if I want to, I can come back in here and I can change the shape. And I can alter it to fit maybe a little bit better than what I did the first time. So it's okay if the first time you mess up, you can come back in here and click on these to move them around and maybe make our shape more accurate. So it's okay if you mess up the very first time. Usually it's really great just to go ahead and throw something down. You can come back and mess with it and try, make it a little bit more detailed later. So again, that is our shape. The only difference between our shapes and our lines is if with a line, it's just straight across. And as soon as you let go, you double click and you let go, and now I have this line. So with this line that I have on our map, sometimes it can be difficult to click on it. If you need to, you can come over here on the left and click on it this way. And you can see that I've got a distance here. I can change the style again with a color and with a width. And I can edit to give it a title and a description. And I can also add my images in my videos. So again, the only difference between your lines and your shapes is that when you finish drawing your line, you come all the way back around to the first point that you put down, and you're going to shade in that entire area. A line does not connect. Now let's take a look back at the shape that we drew for North America. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to click on the shape that I have edited to make it look a little bit more accurate. And notice that this time when I click on it, it does say that our area is 10.5 million square miles. It's also showing us the distance all the way around our shape. So those are two ways that we can look at measurement, look at our distance, and look at area here in our map. There's another thing that we can also look at. So I'm going to take off our continents, and I'm going to come down here to the Oregon Trail, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And you can see that I've added the Oregon Trail starting in Independence, Missouri, and going all the way to Oregon City. And you can see that with this line, I'm using this line to tell me where the trail is, and it's saying that the trail is 1,499 miles. This is really close because the Oregon Trail is estimated to be around 2,170 miles. So you can see how close I am by only putting in these two distant points. I could have the students, or I could use it as teaching the students, and I can use these points that are in here to maybe drag and drop. You can see I've got a point here. I could maybe pull this down and put a little bit more points into my Oregon Trail. Notice how my distance is changing. And I can come up here and put in some other important cities and locations that I would like the students to look at, or I could have them create and show me. And now this time when I click on it, the distance has already changed. So you can use the lines and you can use your shapes to look at different types of measurement. There is one more option when it comes to looking at our distance in our areas. It's to come up here and click on this ruler. Now the difference is what I just did is already existing on my map. By clicking on this Measure Distance and Area tool, it's only temporary. So if I wanted to see approximately maybe the area of Canada, this is very, very quick and it's very temporary. So I'm going to just go very quickly all the way around and come back and click on the very first point. Very similar to drawing a shape. It's going to shade it in, and it's going to go ahead and tell me that area as well as the distance all the way around. But notice that if I click outside of that shape, it disappears. So this measurement tool up here at the top is temporary. I can also use this measurement and distance tool to figure out how long the border is between Canada and the United States. So I can click once, and you can see as I drag, the further I drag, my distance is changing, so I'm just going to do it roughly. Now notice when I get to the end, all I did was a single click for that last point, and you can see that my distance is still going. If I want this to let go, I have to be very careful with this because I could lose everything I just did. So you're going to bring your cursor back in and watch for when your mouse changes. So notice how my mouse is a plus sign. When I get to the point where I see my pointer finger, that little icon, we're going to click one time. Do not click two times like you're used to in Google Drawings. Only click one time. And when you let go, notice how my hand has changed. I now have this grab feature, and I can grab my line. I can grab these points in my line, and I can grab my map and move it up and down. So this is my final calculated distance. If you notice when we're zoomed in, it's telling me that between here and here it is 1,000 miles. Between there and here it's 2,000, 3,000, and my total is 3,115 miles. So again, this is temporary because when I click outside of that line, it disappears. So make sure you notice the difference between this Measure Distance and Area tool versus having a line and the area already existing on your map. So again, when I click on this line, it's going to tell me the distance, which I can change by moving these points around, and it will change. I can also look at the area. And we can look at the area of this shape as well as the distance that go around this shape. So these are permanent because they're already on our map, whereas this Measure Distance and Area tool is temporary. I'm temporarily drawing a line, and when I double click or click outside, it disappears and it's gone. Now that we are done with our map, we're going to come up here to the top left corner because we are ready to share it with our students or with an audience. So we're going to come up here and click on Preview, and it's going to open in a new tab. And this is what it's going to look like for your audience or for your learners. Just like when you were editing, you can click and choose to turn layers on and off. So you can look at one specific layer or multiple layers. So for example, I'm going to turn off these other layers for a second. And now I'm going to click on Landforms. So you can see for the landforms, I've got the Grand Canyon. When I click on that, it takes me here. It's going to show you your map on the right, and any photos or videos or description that you've added will be here on the left side of the screen. I'm going to come down here to the 7 Wonders of the World and show you one of these as well. We're going to click on the Roman Colosseum. So it's going to take me directly here on the map. It's going to zoom it in for me. It's going to give me our title on the left. We've got our description with the link that we gave the students for further information. This time you can see it's 10 photos and 1 video, so they can click on that and they can flip through here in order and look at the pictures, as well as at the end there is a video, and they can watch this video. When they're done, they click this back arrow here, the little white one, not the big one up here in the top left. Click the left arrow beside Roman Colosseum beside your title, and it takes you back to the other layers. I can zoom all the way out and go to my points this direction. So a student can also click on just that particular marker and see that information from here. So that is our preview mode. Now I need to come over here on the left and make sure that I have my share settings set appropriately for the group of people that I would like to see it, whether it be students or it might be colleagues or any type of audience. I'm going to click on share, and this is going to be very familiar to you if you're comfortable with Google Apps. So you're going to see down here I can invite people, and I can type in their email address, I can add a message, and I can give them edit or view access. I can come up here to where it says private, only I can access. If I was to share out this link right now, only I would be able to access it. So I need to change this right here. So I'm going to click on change. And you can see that I can either have just specific people that I emailed directly. I can have it anyone in my district who has the link, anyone in my district at all, anyone on the internet with a link, or public on the web. Now for these two here, anyone in my district or anyone in my district with the link, these people must be signed in to their Google account so that it knows that those people are in my district and can access it. So they have to be signed in to their Google account. These two, anyone on the web with a link or public on the web, these two people do not need to be signed in to a Google account. Notice how right here it says no sign in required. So that means I could make this public on the web or anyone with a link and give this to someone who does not have a Google account. But remember, to create the My Map, to start from the very beginning and actually create your own map, you do have to be signed in to a Google account. But if I'm sharing it, the people that I share it with may not need to have the Google account if you were setting it to public on the web or anyone with a link. However, if I do choose to say anyone in my district or anyone in my district with a link, these people do have to sign in and have their Google account in order to access the map if I choose these settings. So I'm going to leave it as anyone with a link, and I'm going to click save. Notice down here it says access, anyone in Gaston County Schools can view. I can change it to can edit, but I'm going to leave it on can view and click save. So I've looked at my share settings, I've looked at preview. We've got one last thing to look at. So we're going to come up here and click on these three dots. I can create a new map. I can make a copy of my map. I can open up a specific map. I can delete this one. I can set my default view, and I've got these options. I can embed this on a website. I can export it as a KML file, or I can print my map. So these are a couple different options that we have available to us. The one thing that I want to do right now is I want to get my link. So I've got two options. I can click here and take my link to copy and paste. So I've got to copy that. Or I can click preview, come up here and click in the URL, and I can copy. So I just copied my link so that I can share it. Now that I have the link to my map, I can share that link in a document or in presentation or in any other type of form so that I can share this link with other people. Now, if I'm going to use Google Classroom and I want to share this with my students, I'm going to come over here to my Google Classroom. I'm going to click on the plus icon and make an announcement or an assignment. In this particular example, I'm going to go ahead and make an assignment. And because this is a Google product, I can click on my Google Drive, and you're going to see under Recent, it's going to say World Tour. So I'm going to click on World Tour and click Add. And you can see that it says Students can view. I can change it to say Students can edit if I want my students to be able to edit this map. If I give them a template and get them started, maybe put some questions in the descriptions. I can also make a copy for every single student. Now notice the difference between Students can edit. Every student would be editing the exact same map. This might be good if they're working in groups. If I want each individual student to maybe answer the questions that I've posted on the map, make a copy for each student. If they're answering questions or they're doing individual products. So again, you've got Students can view, edit, and make a copy for each student because this is a Google product. So I'm going to give it a title, my world tour, and I'm going to say assign. So now you can see I've taken my map and I've added it to my Google Classroom. So what I want to do is I want to go to a very special location. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and you can bookmark this once you go to it, but the first time we're just going to do Google My Maps. Not Google Maps, Google My Maps. When I do that, notice right here it says My Maps about Google Maps. We're going to click on this. Now it's trying to take us to My Maps. So we're going to click on Get Started, and it's going to take us to this dashboard. Now look up at the top. It says All, Owned, Not Owned. We've got Shared, Recent, but here is a wonderful place that you need to bookmark. It says Explore. So in this Explore section, these are maps that have already been made. So let's go ahead and scroll down here, and we are going to look for this map right here, the U.S. Civil War. So I'm going to click on that because this is a map that has already been made. I'm going to open it. So this is a really great map that I could use with my students. So if I want to use this, I'm going to come up here in the top corner and I'm going to click on these three dots. And I'm going to come over here and say Copy Map. So I'm going to make a copy of this map and I'm going to rename it. I want it to be called the U.S. Civil War Map. I'm going to say OK. It's making a copy. So this was the original. I cannot edit this map because it is not mine. But it is making a copy so that now I can edit it. I can add more questions for my students or for my audience. So now I can come in here and I can edit this map. I can click on, for example, Fort Henry, and I can see there's only one picture. Maybe I want more information, maybe I want a question in here for students to write down. So I can edit this and add more information for my students or for my audience. So this is a very important location that you're going to want to know how to get here and how to find other resources. Again, this is called Explore. You have to be in Google My Maps and it's under Explore. So this is a great thing that you would want to bookmark and save, make a copy of it, and then you can edit it and give it to your students.